Oh, it's that time of year again when Republicans get to play games with whether the government's gonna stay open or not. And all of us have to wait to see, will we have a functioning society? Unfortunately for all of us, this time, House Speaker Mike Johnson is in charge. And he's in kind of a difficult position, understandably. He's basically now in the McCarthy position of having to deal with his even more insane caucus. And so they have to do a spending bill before September 30th. So all this month, there's gonna be negotiations about whether the government stays open, and he's getting pressured, I think deliciously, from both sides to do extreme things. And so Johnson indicated during a private call with GOP lawmakers on Wednesday that he would be attaching the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility, the SAVE Act, a Republican voter identification bill, to short-term government spending legislation before a potential government shutdown on October 1st. Now, this SAVE Act is very important. I would say crucial, because what it would do is it would make it so that non-citizens can't vote in America. And we need that because as of right now, non-citizens can't vote in America. Wait. There's gotta be something more intelligent about it, because all these millionaires think it's important, but no, it's stupid xenophobic BS. They already can't vote. They can't vote. They don't vote. But the Republicans are trying to get out in front of potentially losing in this election. And so they just have to keep the voter fraud thing going on. And so, sure, let's outlaw things that are already illegal.
A storm is tearing up the digital media industry. Only our audience can save us in these difficult times. Help us reach our goal of 100,000 new members at tyt.com/team.
Of course, it would not just state that it's illegal. It would do things to try to clamp down on legitimate voting. That's the whole point. We'll have more on that in the show. But as of right now, while it's unnecessary, it might be necessary for him to try, because a lot of Republicans at his caucus say he has to do this. A lot of conservatives and Trump allies are like, this needs to be on there. So Chip Roy's one of them. He says, certainly conservative spending hawks, frankly, any Republican that doesn't want to give Democrats or the kind of uniparty the pen in December. He literally doesn't even understand what people mean when they say uniparty. I think it's hilarious. It's just a buzzword to him. Anyway, so we want to kick spending into the new year. Certainly kicking it to March gives us that benefit. And then we should have a robust fight over whether or not we should be very clear that only citizens are voting, which again, we are already very clear about that. They can't and they don't. Now, some Republicans are not happy about this plan. So some have reportedly expressed concern that a shutdown caused by the SAVE Act, prompting the Democratic-controlled Senate to reject the continuing resolution, or CR, would be a political liability that could damage Republicans in vulnerable House seats just before November's election. And so this is where they're caught between a rock and a crazy place, because the hardcore despising immigrants MAGA base is like, I just want every bill to be about hating migrants. But if that means that you can't continue the government and it gets shut down, which they think stupidly is awesome for them, then that could really hurt them. And remember, this is already an election that is like razor thin. Not just Kamala Harris's chances in some of these swing states as of right now, super thin, but also their ability to control the House and the Senate could come down to just a couple of races that themselves could come down to, well, do people spend the month or two leading up to, well, almost exactly 1 month leading up to the election thinking, oh great, like Republicans are once again making it so that nothing works. And the thing is, lots of migrant hating Republicans are like, I don't even care. I care more about attacking migrants than I do about our ability to control Congress. And they're being inspired to pursue their worst instincts by, you'll be shocked to find out, Donald Trump, who tweeted, truthed, I should say, this is back earlier this year, Republicans must pass the SAVE Act or go home and cry yourself to sleep, which is a sentence that a former president of the United States posted on social media. Non-citizen illegal migrants are getting the right to vote, not true, being pushed by crooked Democrat politicians who are not being stopped by an equally dishonest Justice Department. Blah, blah, blah. There's a whole lot of nonsense here. They have no shame. All I'm saying is that if I'm elected president, we will pursue election fraudsters at levels never seen before, and they'll be sent to prison for long periods of time. We already know who you are. Don't do it. Zuckerbucks, be careful. That is like the 30th page of the manifesto of the craziest person currently living in a shack in the woods in America. Also, it's a social media post by a guy who could be president again. And so none of this is true. The migrants aren't voting. They can't vote. They literally can't. They're not voting. We sometimes profile stories on people who voted illegally. That does happen very, very frequently. They're Republicans, which doesn't seem to bother Republicans at all, but absolute nonsense. Now, again, he is kind of in charge. I want to give you just one more person who is regrettably for the Republicans in charge. Marjorie Greene asked her followers what bill should hold up the funding. So she said, with the September 30th government funding deadline approaching, another kick the can down the road for 6 months CR is being discussed since appropriations were never finished. Again, she's acting as if like, oh, I hate that we keep having to do this. But what, do you want to do like a serious long-term funding resolution? No, you don't want to do that. Don't try to act like the responsible one in the room. So what do you think should be demanded from Congress? SAVE Act, election bill, border security, which they already killed, balanced budget amendment. Again, like with the deficits that Donald Trump ran literally every year of his presidency, how would that work? I mean, I know how that would work. They would just cut every bit of discretionary spending that goes to regular Americans. Every bit of spending that actually benefits you would be cut to make way for $1 trillion a year defense budget. But so she's like, let's stop having this partisan thing in how we fund everything. Also, how should we tank this at the same time? So I can't tell you exactly how this is going to work out. I will say this is going to be a very tough time for Mike Johnson. This could result in him being kicked out of his position as House Speaker, and it certainly will be must-see TV throughout the next month. When you click the join button and become a tier 2 member, you get access to all of our weekly top 10 lists. What are you waiting for?